Just super pissed. Welcome to the Primal Edge Health podcast, everybody. We have a special episode today featuring the lovely Jessica Haggard, and we're doing a little Q&A action. So we're pulling questions that we got from followers on Facebook. Maybe we'll read some YouTube comments. There's always funny YouTube comments. I love reading YouTube comments sometimes. It's just really brings a smile to my face. Well, the first question that was actually asked, it looks like it was from Marcus Groves. Marcus asks, what percentage of dietary fat intake would you advise for cutting? Okay, so I don't really look at it in percentages, especially if you're trying to lose weight and you're already adapted to a keto diet. You don't need to have 80% fat or 60% fat, 70% fat. You should look at it in grams, and then essentially you need to be estimating the grams of each macro that you'll need. And it's going to be different for everybody. A good way to start is to cut your calories by 10% using fats. Drop the fats down 10%. Wait a while, check your progress, see how that goes.
How long is a while?
I don't know, a few weeks. I mean, it depends. It depends on your goals. It depends on how you're feeling. If you feel like crap at a 10% deficit, then you want to bring it back up. You want to maintain a deficit in a sustainable way where it feels good to you and even enjoyable. So it's all about riding that line between too much and too little of a deficit and figuring out where that is and then tweaking it as you go. So just giving a blanket statement like that is really difficult. It's going to be different for everybody, and you've got to kind of tweak your diet. And if you've been losing weight at a certain amount of a deficit and then you stall, then increasing your deficit or increasing your energy output could be the next step. But it all depends. Sometimes you want to increase calories for a little while, maintain that weight, stay stable, and then drop calories suddenly and do it in little bursts like that. So kind of all depends again. But this person says, curious about how keto affects teeth and bones over the long term, both from a standpoint of calcium intake and acid-alkaline balance in the diet. It seems like keto can be too acidic, and from my understanding, this is causing leaching of the bones and damage to your teeth. Thoughts? And then another individual actually seconded it and said they have teeth sensitivity issues. Maybe they're on a keto diet and have teeth sensitivity issues. The whole acid-alkaline thing is kind of like a myth, in my opinion. You're going to have to do your own research on these things. Like, don't just take what I say for granted. Don't just take what we say for granted. But the whole acid-alkaline thing, you can make your urine more acidic or more alkaline through diet, but your blood is highly regulated. The myth of high protein diets or acidic diets that contain animal products. It kind of comes from like vegan circles who like to claim that if you just eat vegetables, you're going to stay alkaline and you can't have disease when you're in this alkaline state because cancer only feeds in an acidic environment and cancer needs acid. In my opinion, this is not true. This is a misunderstanding of physiology and chemistry of the body. Acid-alkaline balance in different systems of the body and different fluids is going to be different. So no, a keto diet is not going to negatively affect your teeth health. In fact, I mean, it should improve bone density, bone mineral density, because you're going to be getting a lot of things like vitamin K2 if you're using heavy cream, stuff like that. Calcium is not going to be an issue. And you just plain and simple, your body does not leach off of your bones to maintain acid-alkaline balance. It doesn't work like that. So you're going to have to dig deeper into it and get a better understanding of the physiology behind it. But essentially, I would say, no, it's not going to be a worry, the acid-alkaline balance on a keto diet. Now, if you're doing a ketogenic diet like we do, you're going to be eating lots of vegetables. You're going to be eating lots of alkaline foods.
Lots of vegetables.
Yeah, I mean, you could do like lemon water if you're concerned with it, if you really want to maintain alkaline pH urine. But your blood pH is not going to be changing very much at all through your diet.
And I know as far as the teeth go, if you're worried about your teeth being damaged, a few years ago we were doing some research into teeth health and healing cavities naturally, and that actually put us on the path to where we are now in regards to a high-fat diet and animal protein.
Yeah, I mean, like fat-soluble vitamins are really important for bone mineral density and for the development of teeth as a child and whatnot. So I'd say a high-fat diet is a great way to improve the quality of your teeth. So, yeah. All right, tell us about the mistakes you've made along the way up until now doing keto.
My biggest mistake was eating too much. Actually, just pouring on lots of butter, extra scoops of butter, tallow, coconut oil on all my food when I actually didn't need so much. And when you're transitioning, I think it is important to load up on the fats so you have enough fuel and your transition is pretty simple.
Yeah, but if you can't process them, if you can't
process them, and then afterwards, if you're trying to lose fat, you don't need to be eating so much fat because whatever is not coming from your plate, it'll be burned off from your body.
Yeah, I'd say a common mistake a lot of people make: eating too much fat, eating too little fat, eating too much protein, eating too little protein,
not enough.
Too much vegetables, not enough vegetables. I mean, it could go either way. They're common mistakes everyone makes. Everyone's got to find their own balance. You know, you're gonna have to find your carbohydrate tolerance, and you're gonna have to do that by trial and error. So, yeah, I mean, eating too much fat in the beginning. If you're trying to, if the goal is weight loss, then yeah, you don't need to eat as much food. You know, it's very intuitive. You don't need as many calories if the goal is weight loss. But when you're adapting, I would usually recommend people don't go into a deficit too much or a deficit really at all for the first few weeks, up to like 4 weeks, because you want to adapt to the diet and not stress yourself out too much. So,
and with the ketogenic diet, you just talked about this in a video when you were saying it's not a very good short-term diet.
yeah.
It's like the whole process for me has been very evolutionary. So I'm working with new ingredients. I'm learning how to prepare food in a different way that I haven't known before. Like, I've never done this before in my life. So there has to be a learning curve that you're going to go on. And it just takes time and patience, and your body's constantly evolving. You know, you're shedding cells, you're rebuilding. It's this ebb and flow that's going on. And you just have to, honestly, you just have to be patient.
Here's a good question. We'll do this one first. What supplements do you use? Supplements do you use? That's such a weird question to me because I don't know what you consider a supplement. Like a lot of the things we use would be like foods, would be like whole foods.
Yeah.
You know, I use
definitely prefer to get our nutrition from whole food sources.
Yeah, so I mean, as far as supplements, I don't really use like any protein powders. Sometimes we'll cook with we use like sacha inchi protein to cook with, but these are all food sources like maca. We use maca a lot. Big
we
fan
use a
of
lot
maca.
of turmeric.
Turmeric, maca, reishi spore oil, something
Definitely.
we got on our website. We haven't even talked about it yet, but that's a really amazing one. I love mushrooms, medicinal mushrooms, herbs and spices. But as far as like supplements, on a keto diet, what you want to have is magnesium and potassium.
That's what I was going to say.
Magnesium glycinate, which is really good for getting into the muscle tissue, and magnesium threonate will go to the brain, and potassium citrate. So having those on hand is going to be essential. Everything else is just like for optimizing performance, improving immune function and whatnot. There's plenty of ways you can do that through herbs and spices and different things. But
and salt. I take
supplemental sea salt.
Yeah, like a half a teaspoon a day, maybe every other day, depending.
All right.
Ashwagandha is another really nice one.
There
as
you go.
well.
Adaptogenic herbs
Those
and
are,
ashwagandha,
I think
rhodiola.
those are my favorite personally to play around with. Holy basil as well. It's
Yeah,
really
a
nice.
lot of these shilajit is another really good one.
Put it in bone broth. Tristan made this recipe. You have your bone broth and then you put butter, or like a quarter teaspoon of shilajit with some butter in your bone broth, and it's awesome.
Yeah, shilajit's actually the stuff that oozes out of the ground in the Himalayas. It's like an ancient. It's full of fulvic minerals, fulvic acids, just loads of minerals, and it's like ancient plant material that just kind of oozes up between the cracks in the Himalayas. It's really amazing stuff. So yeah, that's another one. As far as like mushrooms, chaga, reishi, but these are like wild edible foods. You know, these are wild medicinal mushrooms. You can make teas, tinctures, stuff like that. So how would you suggest people solve poor bile production in order to benefit from a keto diet? So your body needs to produce bile in order to break down fats. So like your liver and your gallbladder need to produce a sufficient amount of bile to break down these fatty acids and use them for energy. So you need good bile production if you're going to be successful on a keto diet. Now, if your bile production is really bad, it might be best to avoid a keto diet. Or some people use like supplemental bile salts and stuff like that. I'm not an expert in that field, but I would say maybe do a little bit more research into that. There's ways that you can improve liver function using certain herbs and, you know, cleanses. Cleanses, it's a weird word. But people use coffee enemas to flush their liver. A lot of people use milk thistle extracts. That's a good one. Dandelion. So there's a lot of things you can do to actually improve liver function. So it might be a good idea to take care of that beforehand, before you start a keto diet, and just make sure you have good bile production. And but that's like a whole field of research that some certain people might have to look at.
Sure, this is from Kyle. He says, how can I become a dietitian without preaching what I believe to be absolute shit? I love ketosis, but no major accredited college in the Midwest includes it in the curriculum. I can't practice without a license, and I don't want to sell out in the process. Can you help?
And then that question was seconded by Owen. He says, I feel you on this one. So we got a couple college students here working on their education. Looks like they're passionate about nutrition and diet, and maybe feel like the curriculum isn't exactly up to par with current knowledge that's and current research. And this is the same no matter what you're researching now, no matter what you're studying in university. The spread of information and the rapid pace of changing opinions on things in the sciences and even in the humanities are gonna make it maybe frustrating for students. I mean, even it's the same if you study history. Like, that there's certain biases that certain professors will have. There's cultural biases, racial biases that people will have. I mean, it's like when I went to school in UC Santa Cruz. It's very, very liberal socialist school. So, I mean, if you're not into that aspect when you're studying politics or history, sometimes you might become a little bit frustrated at the one-sided approach. So I'm all about self-education. I'm all about people taking advantage of the education that they're involved in, that they're paying for. So look, if you want to become a dietitian, go for it. Get the education. Don't worry about if you disagree with your professors. That's going to happen. You're going to disagree with professors.
It's probably better that you do.
Yeah, you should always be questioning everything. I mean, I think it's really pathetic and sad the way some people, look up to professors and
idolize them.
Yeah, idolize them. It's like nothing that these people say can be wrong because they have a PhD. But a lot of the times, these people's opinions are outdated, are formed using bias. And so, yeah, get your education. Don't get too bogged down in the details, arguing over minutia with your professors. Learn what you can. Self-educate all along the way. And, I mean, you mentioned you can't practice without a license. Get your license. Then when you have your own practice, you make your own decisions. You have your own practice. You're going to be the one in charge. So at that point, it's not going to matter. So it's kind of just like suck it up, man up, get through it. Push through it, and do your best to keep an open mind. Question everything all along the way. Form your own opinions. Learn how to do your own research. Don't just take things for granted. Something I'm always telling people to do. But yeah, and you have anything?
And also, you shouldn't assume that you can only help people who want to be on a ketogenic diet. I mean, there's loads of people that we talk to, and that just need some advice, but they don't want to go all the way. They don't feel like that's
keto diet's not for everybody. It's not like the one size fits all thing. It's not.
But it is a really cool tool that you can use, and it's awesome. I mean, I think it's awesome to see more professional people.
Yeah, so just do it. Follow your dreams. Don't get caught up in the dogma or trying to change everybody else's mind about it. Learn what you can, internalize the knowledge, and then put it into practice. That's what it's all about. It's not about arguing over who's right or figuring out who's more right, who's more wrong, who's smarter, who's dumber. Just do what you can, move forward with your education, and then you're going to be all right. There are 2 keto camps. This is from Lance. Lance asks, there are 2 keto camps now concerning protein intake. The traditional 0.8 grams of protein to a pound of lean body mass, and the newer approach of considering that amount way too much protein intake. Can you weigh in on that? I also second the question on fat consumption for weight loss, casual weight loss, and extreme weight loss. Okay, so here's a 2-part question. He's asking about protein intake. Now, I've got an article that I wrote about like finding your optimal protein intake. I would say read that article because that's kind of my stance on it. I don't take either side. I think in some individuals, in some cases, less protein is better. In some cases, people will want to utilize more. It all depends on your goals, all depends on where you're at. If you're fighting a serious disease, if you're using it as a therapy for cancer or as a metabolic therapy to fight diabetes, lower protein intake might be optimal for you. But just, it all depends on your goals, on what you want, what you prefer, and, just stick with something and try it and see if it works for you. I mean, there's dogma in every single avenue of everything, and so I think it's important that people question and form their own opinions through their own research and their own self-experimentation. So, yeah, zero point 0.8 grams of protein to a pound of lean mass, that's probably not necessary to build muscle, even on a non-keto diet. But for some people, it might be preferable. So, just all depends. It all depends. Sorry if that's not a definitive answer for you, but yeah.
That's how it goes, though, right? It's like people ask a question, and it just so often it's a variable.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many variables that you can change. So fat consumption for weight loss, casual weight loss, and extreme weight loss, it's going to be different for every individual. And you can do it in bursts where you do, 5 days of extreme calorie restriction and restricting your fat intake, and then do a couple days refeeding at maintenance calories with fats. But yeah, that one's going to depend. So I can't give like a formulaic number, because for everybody it's going to be different. Everybody's metabolism is different. For her, it's going to be different than for me.
Totally different. I tried to follow Tristan. It just didn't work. I had to find my own.
I don't even tell her what to do. I just let Jessica experiment. I try to stay out. So she forms her own opinions.
But it's really been the best way.
Yeah, because she doesn't like to listen to me anyways. All right, so here's a question. I've been on keto for approximately a year. I have a heavy endurance trainer, but I have since hit the wall, so to speak, and have been hit with adrenal fatigue. Is this because of keto? Should I up my carbs? I just started using maca to try to increase testosterone. What would your thoughts be? Also, your tips for maca, how much and how to have it. Okay, lots of questions in there. So we'll start with the maca. Most individuals would be like a tablespoon per day, once or twice per day. You can use more. Sometimes I like to take mega doses, and it can be kind of fun. Sometimes you cook with it, and you can make like pancakes or something where you use maca as an ingredient.
Yeah, I'm actually working on a little mini cookbook at the moment with maca recipes.
There you go.
We have maca on our
We'll have
site.
a bunch of weird suggestions for it soon.
Yeah.
And we'll actually, pretty soon, we're going to have a special deal just for the viewers and listeners and whatnot, and people on our mailing list. We're going to have a special deal on maca in 5-kilo bags for like a ridiculously low price. So you can get like a year's supply of maca pretty soon, and that'll be really exciting, because the whole maca thing is, I don't really want to get too much into it right now, but it's kind of difficult to find good maca right now, and it's one of the most amazing foods you can use. As far as increasing testosterone, I wouldn't expect maca to change your testosterone levels or directly affect your androgenic hormone levels. The studies that have been done on maca have shown that it doesn't directly work on androgens, so they actually don't know the mechanism by which it does tend to help the adrenals, the HPA axis. There's been studies where it helps increase bone mineral density, helps increase healing in rats, fertility, vitality, learning in rat models. But as far as directly affecting your hormones, it's not going to change your testosterone. It might change the way you utilize testosterone. That's all just theoretical, but it does seem to have an effect that feels similar to an increase in testosterone, but they haven't found that that's actually what it does. So as an adaptogen, maca is really amazing. As a test booster in general, I wouldn't count on it for that. Lifestyle is the best thing that you're going to use to change your testosterone levels. Or if you listen to Durian Rider, you can buy protein powders.
Oh, no.
And apparently protein powders have steroids in them, according to Durian Rider and some of his friends that comment on my videos.
They have them randomly placed.
Randomly placed in random bottles of protein powder. So, much like Willy Wonka, buy as many bottles of useless protein powder, which is, most of it is just like waste from the cheese and dairy industry. So buy all these protein powders and you might get free steroids. That will increase your testosterone, according to Dorian Royda. So, okay, so your other question, Matt. You mentioned hitting a wall and getting adrenal fatigue. Now, that's a hard one, and this is probably not, it could be related to your diet. You could be under-eating, but, under-eating for a long time will downregulate thyroid and can change the hormone panel. But as far as keto causing adrenal fatigue, there's probably something else going on. You're probably dealing with some sort of low-level, chronic, elevated stress hormones for some reason. Could be the environment that you're living in. What else? Like pork.
I'm thinking check the electrolyte levels, right? Like make sure you're getting enough magnesium and potassium and sea salt.
Right. I mean, you said you've been doing it for a year, so I assume you're getting enough electrolytes, But you might want to double check that. Increase your electrolyte intake. See what that does.
Try maybe adaptogenic herbs. Those also can help with
Could be
stress.
something going on with your gut biome. I mean, getting in more fermented vegetables like sauerkraut, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
Kefir.
so important. I'm constantly surprised by how many people do not eat fermented vegetables.
Yeah, and get in
It's
fermented
like,
vegetables. And get in
really
probiotics.
makes a big difference.
You can take a probiotic supplement, but it's not going to be as effective as getting in fermented vegetables all the time. So, yeah, that's one. But yeah, you probably have something else going on other than just the diet. I mean, check your sleep habits, your sleep cycles. Exposure to blue light excessively throughout the day and night can do this. Exposure to electromagnetic fields can cause low-level stress, chronic stress response. This has been found in every single type of animal. So, yeah, you might need to look at your environment and see if there's been any changes in your environment, which could negatively affect your hormone profile and health lately. Here's a question. This one's more geared towards Jessica. You want to get this one?
All right, from Kissa. She says, curious about keto in women. I know that personally it seems that I need higher carbs during certain times of the month. Do you or your wife think that there's something to this? For me, I don't really think so. I don't think you need higher carbs when you're going into your period. Maybe
you might get cravings. You'll get more cravings. You will get more cravings.
Yeah.
But why don't you just increase food intake instead of increasing carb intake?
Yeah, and if you have certain cravings, I mean, there's lots of really nice keto recipes that have chocolate in them and have, cinnamon and the savory spices that taste like
Yeah, you don't need
what you might be craving.
Yeah, it's like just because you want sugar doesn't mean you need it. I mean, it might be, if this is your first month doing keto, your second month doing keto, you might get those cravings coming on, and you might feel like you want more. But it just I would say if you're trying to do a keto diet, push through it. You don't need to increase your carbs during that time. Maybe have a little bit of berries or something as a treat, but don't go crazy.
Yeah, that's something to remember too, is that you can have a little bit of strawberries or apricots or, like a local seasonal fruit. It doesn't mean just because you feel like you might want carbs, it doesn't mean you need to binge on something, I don't know what the word is.
Yeah, you don't need
white flour, white sugar,
you don't need sweets. I mean, there's ways that you can do it. And you can actually just increase your food intake in general. Increase your protein and fat intake a little bit. Make yourself some keto ice cream with a little bit of stevia or something like that. There's ways that you can get around it and not jump back into a cycle of using carb refeeds and going back and forth between keto and in and out, because that's no fun.
That's really hard.
It's like you either want to eat carbs or not eat carbs, in my opinion. You don't want to ride the line in between the two.
And I think to drink extra water as well when you're going into that time.
Here's a good one. This one's really interesting. Alex Johnson says, I switched off keto after about 2 years to focus on intermittent fasting based carb fueled diet. Had a hard time accommodating keto with social and travel situations. What recommendations do you typically make to clients on a non-keto diet? I'm curious to hear your thoughts, given you claim that many times you don't recommend keto. Well, look, if someone doesn't want to do keto, why would you recommend keto? First of all, if a person doesn't want to do a keto diet, they don't have to. So I think it seems like maybe there's two parts of this question. The first part was the first statement about switching off of keto because it was hard time accommodating it with social and travel situations. That's kind of surprising to hear, being that you've done it for 2 years. So you did a keto diet for 2 years. You would have been pretty well versed in the keto foods that you could use. How to order out at a restaurant and get keto food.
It's
not
basic,
hard at all.
Right? It's like you have your meat or fish, protein, whatever your protein base is, and you have vegetables and fat around that.
Eat the meat, eat the fat, skip the carbs. It's like you don't have to eat. I mean, what the whole thing about social situations is weird. So I'm not really sure what else is going on. I mean, some people, when they say for social reasons, they mean that they need to drink a 12-pack of beer every weekend and hang out with their boys and watch football. Now, I mean, you can do a keto diet and you could still have one day a week or whatever where you eat certain foods, but in a social situation, it shouldn't be that difficult. There's people who do keto diets very long term, and their girlfriends, their friends don't even know that they're doing it. They just know how to order at a restaurant. You don't order pasta. You can order a burger. You take the bun off. I mean, it's not that complicated for social situations, and I think the emphasis people put on food as this social tool is kind of weird. I mean, it's you don't need to eat carbs to be social. What is that? That doesn't make any sense. Like carbohydrates
but,
equals social life.
But I understand. There's a lot of like cultural programs about certain things, and when you grow up in a society where it's so normal, you go out for like bagels or you go out for coffee and you're eating like cookies. It's
just eat the cream cheese off the bagels. No, but like, come on, the social life is not dependent on the foods you eat, the types of foods you eat. You can go out to a restaurant with a big group of your friends, and any restaurant you go to, there should be something that you can order and enjoy on a keto diet, and you don't have to like get all weird, like, I'm a vegan.
Yeah, it's important to make sure that you're not being weird, and then also if the people you're around are weird, you gotta talk about it, or maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if someone's gonna give you a hard time, what do people
give? Looked at again.
Yeah, it's like, are your friends giving you a hard time because you're not eating carbs? Is that what's going on? Is like social pressure to eat carbohydrates? I don't really understand this because we have no issues with like social stuff. It's like, yeah, we might not eat certain dishes that our friends make. We'll skip the potatoes and we'll eat the fish.
But it doesn't have to be a big thing, and you don't have to feel bad about it.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, there's something else going on with you non-diet wise if social reasons are keeping you from sticking to a diet. Because social life shouldn't depend on the types of food that you choose to eat.
And if you're looking for more specific ideas, we have an article up on our website about, I don't know if there's a number of tips, but the tips and ideas of how to go to different restaurants and ideas of what you can order and how to pair things and maybe certain questions you might want to ask your server.
It becomes really easy as you go. I mean, you said you did it for 2 years. Now, if for somebody doing a keto diet for 2 years, you're going to have like a really solid foundation. You're going to understand what kind of foods agree with you, what kind of foods keep you on your diet, and it becomes really, really easy. It's like you can travel anywhere and get keto foods. So, yeah, I think it's just about keeping your mind open and having intention to stay on the diet. Now, if carbohydrates are desired, if you'd rather be on a higher carb diet, yeah, use a higher carb diet. Keto diet's not the only way.
And travel situations you want to talk about.
But I mean, you can always find canned sardines, canned mackerel. You can always find like tins of salmon, cream cheese, cheeses, butters. You can find this at any crappy grocery store you go to. You'll be able to find avocados. Yeah. So it's, I mean, traveling on keto is very easy to eat a keto diet. Now, if you're super strict about other aspects of your diet, like some people are, it can be more difficult. But traveling on keto shouldn't be very hard. Lots of people do it and do it successfully. So. And
there's things like pemmican. You can either make it yourself or order it online. That's really easy. Nutrient-dense food that you can take with you on your travels. It doesn't smush or spill. Yeah. Jars of sauerkraut are really nice. The other one that was in my head was hard-boiled eggs. It's simple. It's not very exciting, but it's super practical.
All right. So here's another question. Ned says he's been on keto for 6 months, been in and out, easy to get in, but not easy to stay in keto. He says he tried almost no carb, higher protein for a couple days. And then the fasting GL, I guess he's saying fasting blood glucose went way up over 100. My body seems to reject all carbs and now protein too, when over 30 or 40 grams a day turns to sugar. So Ned's having like blood sugar dysregulation. His blood sugar is chronically elevated. You said you've been doing keto for 6 months. Some people do experience elevated blood sugar on a keto diet. It's not uncommon. It's not common, but a small percentage of people will have like elevated blood glucose. Now,
do you think for long term?
I mean, your hemoglobin A1C levels would be a really good indicator, but keto's not for everybody. If it's not working for you, maybe you want to do a different diet. But it sounds like you've got some blood sugar dysregulation issues, pre-diabetic fasting blood glucose, and this is something that people use ketogenic diets to bring their blood sugar down, but it becomes confusing when suddenly their blood sugar goes up. So, I mean, this could have to do with a disrupted circadian rhythm. You could be not getting enough sleep. You could be exposed to more blue light.
Yeah, extra stressors in the environment.
Yeah, low-level chronic stress can create this. If you're very neurotic, I mean, a lot of people just are really neurotic about blood glucose. So, I mean, look, if your blood glucose is driving you nuts, you're obsessing over it, you're driving your blood glucose up just from stressing about your high blood glucose levels, and it's just a constant cycle.
Or if you get nervous before you prick your finger because of the impending
afraid of the impending finger pricks and jump your blood sugar up. But yeah, look, That's kind of a difficult one. I would say maybe try a higher carbohydrate diet. You sounds like you're like got some pre-diabetic stuff going on. You might want to see a physician. I mean, some people have successfully used metformin to bring their fasting blood glucose down, but it just sounds like you've got some insulin resistance going on in the liver that you're going to need to resolve. Some people have utilized fasting for these types of things, but it's just something you're going to have to do a little bit more research on. I wish I could give you like a definitive answer.
What about having breakfast first thing in the morning to set leptin levels? Would that help?
Yeah. I mean, like having a big breakfast can improve blood glucose throughout the day. So that's another option. Make sure you have a large breakfast, consistently eat breakfast. Make sure you're not doing intermittent fasting for now. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can go about it, essentially. But I wish I could just give you an answer and tell you do this and it's going to fix your fasting blood glucose. But there could be a lot of other things going on. So I had another question. Just this was on a separate thread. Gary Worth asks, your thoughts on booze as it relates to both nutritional ketosis and health in general? Booze. Jessica, do you drink?
No.
We don't drink. We choose not to. We don't really like alcohol. It's not that we think it's like really, really, really bad. I don't think it's really great. I don't think it's beneficial to to long-term health. There are studies that show though that people who have like 1 or 2 drinks a day have improved have better longevity and they have better heart function.
Red wine primarily, right?
I think it's like 2 drinks in general even.
Really?
But, yeah, but I mean, the correlation doesn't mean causation, first of all. Thoughts on booze for keto? You can drink and, be in ketosis. You'll probably be very sensitive to alcohol.
And you definitely want to stay away. If you're going out and ordering drinks, stay away from the, what is it, the tequila sunrises and the things with syrups.
Yeah.
Get like straight
if you're going to get booze,
like
drink straight scotch, straight whiskey. Yeah. I would say, stick to that. Stick to straight liquor. Beers are going to have carbs, so that might interfere a little bit. But, look, if it's moderate and it's not all the time, I'd say, don't worry too much about it. If it's a part of your lifestyle, that's fine. It all depends. Alcohol can be a huge problem for some people and not a problem at all for others. Some people have a glass of wine a day. It's great. Some people have a glass of wine, they turn into Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of thing. So, if alcohol is an issue for you, then you're going to stay off of it. As far as interrupting ketosis, when you put alcohol in your body, you're going to have to process that before you process any other type of calories that you ingest. So it will temporarily interrupt ketosis. Chronic alcohol use is going to be very detrimental to health, brain function, and longevity. But occasional drink or moderate use should be fine for most people. Anything
I'm just thinking how we should answer every single question with, it depends.
It all depends.
It all depends.
Yeah, I'm sorry I can't give a definitive answer on that either. But look, if you're an alcoholic, stay away from alcohol. If you can handle your shit when you drink, have a drink every now and then, you're gonna be fine. If you need to drink and get drunk all the time, you should go internally and kind of reflect on what's causing you to chase these behaviors and to
same with the carb thing. If you need to binge on stuff all the time, it's not the food, it's something else going on.
People misuse every single type of
people fun,
use
pleasurable thing.
Food, sex, alcohol, drugs, prescription drugs, marijuana. They can be used as a tool. They can be used for good. They can be really very damaging in somebody's life. It's like a knife, you know what I'm saying? It's like this knife right here. This is a sharp object. It's a very sharp tool.
Vegan gains.
This can be used to perform an emergency surgery to remove glass from somebody's body or something, or can be used to slaughter an animal to use for food, or can be used to murder somebody. So it's like these are tools. It all depends on how you use that tool. All right, so I think that's it. That's all the questions. Could read some YouTube comments, but there's just so many right now, so I'm not gonna get into that. We'll save that for the next one. So thanks for joining us. You can find us at www.primaledgehealth.com. We've got some loads of content on there, more videos, podcasts, some products that we've developed, as well as if you want coaching, you can hit us up through the coaching form. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.
That was a pleasure being on. I really like hearing, getting the interaction between us and you guys. It makes the whole project is really fun when we get the feedback and gives us directions to explore and new things to learn about.